I said, were you in my class when I used to stand at the door and I got that far? And he said, and you told us that you loved us? And he said, oh yes, Sister Madsen, I was in that class. I think it was about 10 years ago that I had such a wonderful experience as a Sunday school teacher. I'd been teaching the 17-year-olds for, I think, 5 years then. And I was sitting in sacrament meeting. In fact, it was during the sacrament. And I had an interruption of my thinking. And this prompting said, tell each one of them that you love them. And I thought, I tell them all the time as a class that I love them. I finish my lessons with testimony. I tell them how much I love them and, you know, to go out there and be good and things like that. But then the prompting came again. No, tell each one of them that you love them. So I went down the hall that day thinking of that. It was still in my mind. Got into class. We had a good discussion. We talked, and I did truly love them. And I thought, as the class went on, I thought, how am I going to implement what I heard in my heart and my mind? So I stationed myself after the closing prayer at the door. They could not get by me without shaking my hand. And so I shook their hands and looked them in the face and said, I love you, James. I love you, Jill. And the boys kind of looked at different corners of the room and didn't meet my eyes, but it was okay. And the girls, some of them sort of smiled and hugged me a little bit and left. The next week came and I thought, I need to do that again. It wouldn't be a prompting that would come just for one lesson. So I started doing it every single week. And it was remarkable how things changed over time. It was so beautiful. We had wonderful classes together, and the spirit was strong, and it was great. When we'd be leaving, you know, there'd be this wonderful, good feeling. And it wasn't long until the girls were hugging me and saying, I love you too, Sister Madsen. And the boys were not hugging me, but they would sometimes even look in my eyes and say, well, I love you too. I had such an interesting experience yesterday. One of those boys came back to sing in our ward, and he brought his wife and his beautiful young daughter with curly hair. And you have this wonderful feeling when you've been a Sunday school teacher. You look at them and you think, oh, he was one of mine. And I asked him, I said, were you in my class when I used to stand at the door and I got that far? And he said, and you told us that you loved us? And he said, oh yes, Sister Madsen, I was in that class. And I remember the first time you did it. And I remember how awkward we were, how awkward we felt, and how awkward I felt. And I wasn't sure anybody liked me, let alone loved me. And when you said that to me week after week after week, I was looking forward to coming down to class because it was so predictable. It didn't matter if anybody else in the world liked me that week, but I knew that you loved me because you looked me in the face and told me. It was one of the sweetest experiences of my life to have that conversation with him yesterday. He said, I knew someone is waiting there who's going to tell me that she loves me.